What's up everybody, Brian Earhart here with Team Discraft and the Disc Golf Network, and you are watching another episode of Level Up. Today, we are throwing technique out the window, and we're gonna talk about how you can take your current skill set on this given day and maximize your scoring potential. Let's get into it. If there is truly a way to optimize your scoring without having to work on your technique, why do people work on technique? Technique helps you throw in a more balanced fashion, it helps you throw more effortlessly, and it can open up a variety of shots for you moving forward. With that said, regardless of how good or bad your technique is, you have to show up to the course and use whatever toolkit you have that day to score and get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. The rest of the tips in this video are going to be split up into two categories: mindset and course management. So first, let's get out there on the course and take a look at some course management situations. There's a classic phrase in the world of golf that has been around for a very long time, and that's drive for show, putt for dough. Recently, that has been kind of debunked in both disc golf and traditional golf. The stat that actually matters most to lowering scores for a lot of players is just greens and regulation. And that means hitting the green and having an opportunity to putt for birdie. So let's talk about how we can make better decisions to hit more greens and regulation and make less stressful rounds happen. So this brings me to another tip, and that is do not always be hunting for the bullseye when you're approaching a green or throwing a tee shot. Sometimes, course designers will put the pins in specific spots to tempt you to try to hunt the bullseye with something much more challenging and technical than something that will just put you inside circle one. If you just start trying to give yourself a look for a birdie rather than trying to park every basket, you'll find yourself throwing a lot more consistent shots and something that's a lot more comfortable for you that you can throw time and time again. So this is a good example right here. We are on our second shot approaching the green. The green is behind that middle grouping of trees. If I were to try to throw a forehand to actually hit the bullseye, it'd be a much more technical stall shot that would have to perfectly hit the gap. What I can do is just try to throw something straight and give myself a 20-footer for birdie. That shot I can throw way more times out of 10 than the other shot. So that's what I'm gonna try here. Another rule of thumb that I want people to internalize that are watching this video is just because you can doesn't mean you should. I have worked with so many talented disc golfers that can pull off miraculous shots just like the best professionals in the world. But because they try those aggressive shots time and time again on the disc golf course, even during tournaments, they make things way harder for themselves than they really have to. And they get themselves into a lot more trouble in tournaments because of that. So to put this into practice, sometimes there are holes on the disc golf course where birdie just isn't in the cards or doesn't need to be. This particular hole is 345 feet. We have a very tight gap, and if you want to throw the straight gap, you risk kicking off one of these trees way down the hill into pretty much nothingness, guaranteeing you a double bogey or even worse. What I'm going to do on this particular hole is just play to a safe side of the green and give myself a longer look for the birdie. So I'm going to play outside with a flex forehand and not even worry about the danger that lies on the left. While decision-making on the disc golf course is extremely important for lowering scores, the mindset to which you bring to the course itself matters just as much. So with that, let's talk about some mental game tips to continue to lower your scores. One of the biggest concepts I want to bring to you in this video is something that really spoke to me when I was reading some sports psychology a little bit ago, and it's the concept of mental flexibility. I think in sports, it's very easy to tell somebody, well, you should just repress all negative emotion. If something bad happens to you or undesired, you should just not feel any bad emotion. Well, it's easier said than done. Humans are complex people. We feel a lot of emotion. And I think the difference between elite players that show a lot of passion and frustration and amateur players that maybe feel that emotion and it spirals for them is that the best athletes in the world put their heart and soul into every single shot that they make, and if something doesn't come out the way they want it to come out, they're gonna feel the frustration, but they're not going to let the frustration or the mistakes define them as people. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes I see from newer players or even talented players that don't quite get the results they want. They make a few mistakes here and there, and they begin to talk to themselves as if they are bad people or they're terrible at this sport, when really, they just made a few mistakes out of many good shots that they've thrown. While it's easy to just read a sports psychology book or watch videos about improving your mental game, actually executing it and getting better at it is very challenging. You have to treat improving your mental game just like you would treat your technique in the field, maybe working on a backhand, or even just going to the gym and working on your fitness. It's just like working out a muscle, practicing your mental game. So the first tip that I can possibly tell you to start improving is to just monitor your self-talk. Like I was saying, in mental flexibility, a lot of times people will make a mistake and then begin insulting themselves because of it, making way more general statements than they need to. If you begin insulting yourself audibly after making a single mistake on the disc golf course, mark that. See how many times throughout the round you speak in a hyperbolic way about yourself. Eventually, the more you start becoming aware of it, the more you can easily let go of it and stop doing it. The moment you stop treating yourself so poorly on the disc golf course, the more likely you are to play with a lot less fear. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope this video at least gave you a start to begin refining your own scoring philosophies to shave more strokes off your disc golf game. For even more content on this topic, make sure to watch this episode on the Disc Golf Network.